Taking a look now at education across the state, the Governor's Education and Economic Summit took place at the Detroit Renaissance Center this week. For the first time, the governor combined the two topics because he says they're so closely connected. On the agenda, improving third grade reading, preparing residents for skilled trades, and creating partnerships between the business community and schools. All right, Nolan, so is this a long time coming, just combining these two things together and putting the emphasis there?
It's a good strategy, linking education and your education goals to your economic goals. A lot of skilled jobs being created in this economy, a lot of skilled manufacturing jobs being created in this economy. What we're not doing is producing a lot of workers for those jobs. Any company that relies on welders, for example, will tell you, gosh, we can't find welders. Huge truck driver shortage in Oakland County, the #1 job listing out there. And those can be good middle-class jobs. And we're just kind of upside down in the skills of our workers. That's the governor's goal. It's Mike Duggan's goal, to train workers for jobs that exist in this economy.
What else did you hear coming out of this summit this week that you liked?
Well, I think the focus on third grade reading has been a long time coming. We have been abysmal at that here in the state. And there was this impulse last year in the legislature to deal with it with a hammer, to say, let's just hold all these kids
No one has brought that back up, have they?
Well, one of the sponsors of the bills last year says that she feels like the work has already been done and that they should pick up where they left off. The bills have not been reintroduced that way this year, and I would hope that they wouldn't be. But that was a really inauspicious start for the discussion about third grade reading. You really ought to get focused on how you get to third grade without being able to read as part of the solution. And that starts not just in kindergarten, but in pre-K and in the home before that. That's where the governor is really trying to turn the focus. Yeah. It's a really progressive education reform conversation he's trying to lead, and I hope that the legislature goes along with it.
And that's where the focus should be, Steve, because if you focus on what you're going to do in the event of the failure, instead of how do you make sure there's not going to be a failure, identify these kids early. You don't worry about it in May of their third grade year.
That's right.
You start worrying about it in first grade. Kids who come to school, who come to you, who haven't had books read to them, you start worrying about it then, pulling those kids out for special sessions, for special training, so that at the end of the third grade year, this idea of holding kids back is moot. You don't need to. Get to these kids early enough to make sure they succeed. I see that in this objective, and I hope that's where because we can't have hundreds and thousands of kids, third graders, being held back. We've got nothing to do with them.
It's incredibly impractical, and you can't do this without money. I mean, the governor is committed.
He's budgeted money.
He's budgeted money for it, about $50 million for it. Are we seeing any pushback against that, or are we hearing support for that?
Well, we haven't heard any vocal pushback yet, but last year, one of the things that the Republican majority was crowing about was the fact that they were going to do this without new money, that they were going to not try to invest in some of these things. And so I think the governor's got something of an argument to have with them about where this $48 million comes from. Now, it's not new money. He's not raising fees or anything or taxes to get it. He's taking it from other places, so that should go over a little better.
I don't think the budget's going to be an issue. I think there's broad enough success, and he has laid out the places where he'll get it from. And in truth, if Prop 1 passes in May, they're going to be a wash in education money. So, I mean, there should be money to do this. The issue here is not the funding, it's the how you implement it. This has got to be done in a way that works. And I would agree with you, Steve. You got to start even before they get to school, in preschool, making sure these kids get read to. The RAND Corporation did a study a couple of years ago. Half of African American children start school with nobody having read them a book. That's a huge, huge disadvantage.
Yeah.